is so interesting. Did you know that Victoria is actually connected to none other than Heidi? Heidi from the Volturi, who lures the humans in with her irresistible powers of attraction. And they were actually in a coven together. And it was this female-only girl boss coven that was made up entirely of women with these like traumatic backstories. We don't know a ton about Heidi's backstory or the other women in the coven, but we do know how Victoria got there. So Victoria was born in the 1560s in London, and she was the illegitimate child of a scullery maid and the master of the house. And she also had an older sister named Anne, and they were raised as servants, and eventually they were able to get jobs. But the master of that house was a terrible, nasty, creepy man, and he was lecherous, and he would like beat the servants. But Victoria became really good at hiding, even though it was more difficult for her than her sister because of her like flashy appearance with her bright hair. And this is where we start to see her gift kind of take shape, because she had to do this a lot throughout her life. And then so Anne thinks they should escape, and they do, but they don't have any money or any references. So Anne ends up working for a, and I quote, local pimp in exchange for Victoria having free lodging. And obviously this man is terrible too. But then one night Anne goes to meet a client and she never returns, and Victoria is devastated. But this creepy man is really angry and takes it out on Victoria and wants her to take Anne's place. So Victoria ends up escaping, and she lives like a cat burglar for a while, and she like sneaks into houses and takes a little bit of food, sleeps, whatever, and she never gets caught because she's really good at it. And then eventually she's able to get a job as a scullery maid. And then one night when Victoria is 18, Anne returns to her, and unbeknownst to Victoria, Anne has been turned into a vampire. And so Anne turns Victoria, and she wakes up in this beautiful country home surrounded by 4 beautiful women. One of them is Anne, of course. One of them is Hilda, the vampire who turned them. One is a vampire named Mary, and one is Heidi. And we don't know much about Heidi's backstory, just that she was from Germany and she was very beautiful, and her backstory must have been rough because this is why Hilda was turning all these girls. And this girl boss coven lives very peacefully for a while because none of them crave authority or power. And then Hilda ends up turning another woman named Noella. But then what happens is the Volturi just basically do this whole stunt. And they create this false accusation that they were like causing too much attention with newborns. But of course that wasn't true. It was really just because Aro wanted Heidi because of her gift. So Aro uses Chelsea to bond Heidi to him, and they 86 Hilda. And basically they all scatter in different directions, and the Volturi catches up to all of them except Victoria because of her gift. And then, as we know, Victoria meets a loser man, and he leads to her downfall, as they so often do. After all that, they have this like cat and mouse thing for a while because he kind of has like the opposite of her gift. He never even liked her as much as she liked him, which is just crazy. And then we know the whole story with the newborn army and Riley, Belle, Edward, and she ultimately went down avenging a loser. After all that, don't be like that.